I am Sarah Elizabeth from Project Feel, and I am an artist.
Hi, my name is Anthony Alvarez. I'm one of the founders of Project Feel. I am a filmmaker and I am also a subject in stages.
Hi, my name is Daniela. I'm an artist, a writer, poet, dancer, actor, etc. Yeah, I guess.
So, Danny, in this moment in your life, how are you feeling?
Um, I guess I've been feeling better. I feel like in this moment in my life, it's been like very transitional. Like I feel like there's definitely a change coming. So I'm kind of in that weird middle spot right now. But I've been feeling okay, like very grateful for, the people that surround me, like my support system and everything. Sometimes, there are bad days and that's fine, but most of the time I feel pretty okay.
I feel very grateful to be here doing this today. It lined up very nicely because I feel like I've been kind of feeling numb for the past few weeks and feel like I've been rediscovering what it feels like to feel again. And then yesterday, actually, in a conversation with a close friend named Brandon, I felt myself sort of like opening up in a way where I was like, oh, like I'm feeling again. And so I feel like I'm happy that I'm here now to be able to talk about it. You know?
Hmm. Okay, so physically, right now, how am I feeling? I'm a little nervous. But in this moment in my life right now, I think I am a little confused um, about my purpose in life and where I want to be. Yeah.
Was there a moment that you realized your mental and emotional being needed help?
Oh yeah. um I want to say around like 2 years ago, I was in a really bad relationship. And even though I couldn't like get myself to get out of that, I knew I needed help. So around that time, I started going to therapy. And obviously, it took me a while to recognize like how deeply I was being affected by this relationship. But I want to say, yeah, like around just August 2020 was when I started therapy. Um, so yeah, I guess around that time is when I really realized that I needed help. Yeah.
In February of 2021, a bunch of amazing artists from Florida, from Central Florida, came to New York, and they came to shoot a video or help with shooting a video called 2020 Eastern Parkway. Or they came for a bunch of reasons, but we ended up shooting a video, right? And we shot that video in my older brother's house, right? So I remember the day we all got together. We go with Franco, we go with Jerk, we drive to Jersey, and we're there, and we are with the team, and we're with my brother and his kids, who I'm very, very close to. And that whole month, probably like 2 months before that, I had been feeling off, but I didn't articulate. I was just sort of like floating through life. And I remember being there that day and seeing the light that was coming out of like the creatives that were there, like Franco and Jerk and Jason and Chris and Danny, and like such a beautiful space to be in. And it reminded me that there's a light, and I was like, oh, I'm now becoming aware that I haven't been tapped into that light. And I found myself feeling both like so happy but so sad to be reminded that like, oh, I've really been in the dark for a good amount of time now. And I remember like communicating that to them, telling them like, hey, I've been I'm really struggling right now. Like I'm really, really struggling. And I just met you guys, and you guys I feel like you're almost like saving me from the darkness. So I just want to say thank you. practicing like a lot of gratitude towards them. But the moment that I knew I needed, like, I was like, all right, I need to address this, was when at the end of the shoot, my niece, who was 6 years old at the time, her name is Kayla. At the end of the shoot, we're all leaving, we were shooting, and she's like, Anthony, can you come here? And she like pulls me away, and like she was like, can you sit down? So she sits me down on the couch, and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you seem sad all day. Like, why do you seem sad? And I was like trying to think about, I've always tried to be like very honest with my niece and nephew. So I think about like, how do I communicate myself in a way that would make sense to them? So I was like, I just feel like I'm not good enough. And she said, she was like, what do you mean you're not good enough, Anthony? Like, you're awesome. You're great. And I started breaking down into tears, like in a way that I hadn't felt a release in like, I don't even know how long. And I remember just feeling like so relieved, like something just brought, like really pulled me out of the darkness. And I felt it like pouring out of me. And I remember telling her like, Kayla, thank you so much for saying those words to me. I feel like you almost like removed this block that I just needed to like become aware of, that I was in pain, but there is light outside of that. And that night I remember going home and like I just sat in the shower and cried like I hadn't allowed myself to in so long, and I just cried and cried and cried. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to actually talk. I need to work through this. I can't just like sit with it. And that's when I made the decision, I have to go into therapy. And so I started like seeking out the resources, and I started therapy like a week later. Yeah.
I think it was last year. Well, I've always known I needed help like a while ago, but I think last year was like a big sign for me where I was like, okay, I'm not okay. And I was kind of scared for myself. And so yeah, I was like, I think I need a therapist. So I looked for a therapist, and yeah, I think that was a moment I was just going through a lot.
Danny, when do you feel the most vulnerable?
I feel like ever since I started therapy, I am not really afraid to be vulnerable anymore. Like before, I used to really not allow myself to feel because I was so worried about what other people were feeling. So now that I recognize that like it's okay to have emotions, I feel like I won't miss out an opportunity to be vulnerable. So I guess like any moment for me could be a vulnerable moment, if that makes sense.
When do I feel the most vulnerable? I 100% feel the most vulnerable around this group of people, and I around like all like my family on the project field team, and I think it's because that they invite me to be vulnerable. Like, I have no problem being vulnerable. Like, I can speak to a stranger and like, tell them like, oh, I'm not feeling my best today, here's why, and go into it. But I think it's one thing to like communicate, oh, I'm feeling this. It's another thing to allow yourself to feel it in front of that person. And that's something that I feel like has to be invited from the other person to make you feel like you can do that. And I'm fortunate enough that there's a lot of people on this team that actively invite that if they feel like I need it, or if I feel like I need it. And that allows me to reach a point that I don't feel like I can otherwise. Even by myself, like I appreciate my time alone, but I've been becoming really mindful that I have been not sitting with myself alone as much as I probably should be. And I'm trying to integrate that into like my routine and my practice more through meditation and through just time.
Um, when do I feel the most vulnerable? Right now. I think yeah, when I have eyes on me, when I feel like I'm being seen, or like when I'm showing my art specifically, I feel like I'm showing a deeper side to yeah myself, and that I may not be able to speak upon. So I guess when I show my art side. Yeah.
What would you say are some of your insecurities?
Oh God. I mean, at least for me, it's like I feel like I have the same amount of insecurities like on the outside and on the inside. Because growing up, I was a dancer, so I started dancing when I was 3 years old, and my mom was a dancer too. So like everything that surrounded that like title for me and everything that it entailed for me to be a dancer, you know, like you have to be a specific weight or look a type of way. And my mom made sure I knew that. And I feel like most of my physical insecurities come from that because she never really accepted me how I was. So I never accepted me for how I was, you know? So yeah. And then I guess on the inside, I also feel that if I come off a certain way or present myself in a certain way, I have a deep fear of abandonment. So every time that I feel some distance or like, I don't know, just when the energy feels off on like someone, I'm like, well, what did I do? Like, what do I have to change for you to be okay? And I'm not saying that's healthy at all, you know, because, you know, but yeah, I guess it's just a lot.
Sometimes I never had like a strong support system, and so like a healthy, plentiful, diverse one like I have now. And sometimes my insecurity is that something I will say or do will bring like topple that down around me, and so I'm insecure not so much about myself, but of how I may show up and say something to someone and it damages that relationship with them. So I try to always come from like a genuine place and speak from the truth and speak from love. But I find myself struggling with this insecurity that like I don't want to ruin what I have right now, and I think about it a lot sometimes. So that's probably what I've been struggling with the most recently.
Let me go down the list. I think physically right now, I've been very stressed like this year, so I've been losing a lot of hair. So I think that's probably one of my insecurities
What's a positive trait about yourself that can sometimes be viewed as a negative one?
I think that would be like how self-aware I am, because I feel like that's definitely a double-edged sword, because it's a good thing that I am aware of how I'm feeling and like, you know, the energy around me and like how I may come off as. But sometimes I just dig too deep into it and then I create my own narrative. That's not true.
I think my optimism can be, it's a powerful like tool that I use to sort of move through life and to discern things, but I think that it can sort of fall on different ends of the spectrum depending on the situation. I think that I at one point in my life I was like a toxically positive person, or like one of those types of people, and I felt like like the idea of me even allowing myself to feel sad, I felt shameful about it. Like I wouldn't allow myself to feel it, which is why I felt like I had to go through that break and like release of realizing, oh, I need help. And I feel like that sometimes in my relationships in the past, it's been a negative thing, because sometimes, like, when you're struggling, it's not about hearing the bright side of things. Like, you can struggle and be aware that there will be like an end to the struggle at some point, or there will be like another side of it, but without diminishing where you are now. And I feel that before I would try to hide in happy endings so that I could find some peace in that. But it's always like you're chasing after something that can never get there, because all you really have is the present moment. So now I'm trying to find the balance of sitting with it, and not being like, I will always have faith in how things work out, but that sometimes it's okay to just sit with it and be like, this fucking sucks, or like, or I hear how sad my friend is. I'm sorry that you're going through that. That really sounds like a really difficult thing to be experiencing, and kind of that's it. And letting people, like, I don't have to drag people down the optimistic path. I can just be with them on their path, and I'm there for them however they need me. So I think, yeah, I've been finding the balance of optimism and having faith in this world.
Um, I think I am very like loving, um, but sometimes people can like take advantage of that. When I'm like a little too accepting, I think people tend to walk all over me because I'm so nice and stuff. So I feel like that could be like a little good and bad type thing.